everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Law Schoolers. In this episode, we are continuing to talk about secure transactions, and specifically, we will be focusing on perfection. And in our previous episode, we talked about the financing statement being the primary method of perfection. In this episode, we are going to be talking about other perfection methods. So we're going to be talking about other filing systems. We're going to be focusing on possession, control, and then also methods of automatic perfection as well. So let's go ahead and hop into this. Let's start with other filing systems. Well, there are three instances where Article 9 of the UCC is not going to apply for perfection. The first is when the federal law is going to preempt the filing system with an alternate system. So this applies for aircrafts and ships and railroad transportation. Just as a couple of examples, essentially these are types of products, collateral, that is going to be controlled by federal law rather than state law, and as adopted when the states adopt the UCC. Another method is going to be when the certificate of title statute is going to apply. So these are going to be automobiles, except for dealers with automobiles as their inventory. So dealerships with automobiles as inventory still is underneath Article 9, meaning you need a financing statement for that inventory. But let's just say regular consumers who drive your car every day, that's going to be governed instead by a certificate of that was a big stutter, I'm sorry. By a certificate of title rather than through the Article 9 of the UCC. And then some states may have other alternate systems that are different from the UCC as well, and that is their direction that they can take, that they are free to take. So those are other filing systems. Let's talk now about possession. Possession is outlined in 9.310b6 as a way of perfection. The only way to perfect collateral of money is going to be by possession. And what I mean by money, I mean cash. Not checks, but cash. Dollar bills, and so on and so forth. Perfection may also, in addition to the financing statement, be accomplished for goods, instruments, tangible paper, and tangible negotiable documents of title. What I mean by that is if you have those documents, if you have goods, instruments, or tangible chattel paper, those can be perfected by a financing statement, but they may also be perfected by possession. So if you, as the creditor, have those materials with you, well, then you have perfection in those materials as well. But perfection by possession requires delivery. And there are going to be special rules that apply for documents that can be found in Section 9.312c of the UCC. I should also say that applies to non-negotiable documents too. Alright, so that's possession, essentially just tangible. As far as control goes, it's essentially the same thing as possession, except it's for those intangible things. So perfection by control is going to be the only method that you can perfect deposit accounts. So these are your credit and savings accounts and letter of credit rights. Perfection by control may also occur for investment property, electronic chattel paper, and then electronic documents of title. So once again, you can use a financing statement for those three documents, or you can you can control those documents, and that'll be enough to establish perfection. But deposit accounts, meaning your checking account, your savings account, those things can only be perfected if you have control of those accounts. Okay, so let's talk about automatic perfection. The purpose of automatic perfection is going to avoid the cost of providing notice to other potential creditors when the notice would provide a title benefit. So there are a few ways to automatically perfect. First, you have what are called purchase money security interests in consumer goods. No, it's in consumer goods. These are typically called PMSIs, purchase money security interest, PMSI, PMSI. You've got associated collateral is another automatic perfection method. And then there's a few other sections of the UCC, Article 9, that talks about automatic perfection. But PMSIs and associated collateral are the two that I want to focus on. So let's talk about PMSIs in consumer goods. This is outlined in Article 9, UCC, Section 9309. And what it essentially says is that a transaction can automatically perfect if the attachment, so once again, to perfect, you need attachment step 1, then you have perfection. If the attachment is going to be in a PMSI, in a consumer good. So it needs to be a PMSI, and it needs to be a consumer good. Those are the two requirements for the automatic perfection. That consumer good is also it can't be subject to certificate of title, so it can't be a car, essentially is what that is saying. I mean, there's other things that can have a certificate of title, but we'll say car, because car is going to be most of the time what is subject to a certificate of title. So how do you establish what a PMSI actually is? Well, it's going to be a PMSI if the transaction is seller financed and the third party financed it, meaning that seller financed it for the specific purpose of purchasing that product, for purchasing that consumer good. So, what do I mean by this? If you go to RC Willey's and you purchase a couch, and you purchase that couch on credit, that means it is seller financed and it is a consumer good, and the purpose of that credit is to purchase the couch, and that couch is going to be used as a consumer good. So, purchasing that couch is your collateral of that PMSI. That is a purchase money security interest. So, RC Willey then has that purchase money security interest in that couch. If you don't pay RC Willey that credit, they can come and reclaim the couch. That's essentially what a PMSI is. Seller financed, and it's financed for the purpose of purchasing that good. Typically, PMSIs are going to occur in larger retail purchases, and as I mentioned, these are going to be appliances, refrigerators, couch, whatever else it might be. A PMSI is not in a consumer good. A PMSI that is not a consumer good needs to be perfected by another means within 20 days. So, PMSI in consumer goods automatically attach. If it's not a consumer good, meaning if it's inventory, well then you've got this little bit of a buffer where you have 20 days to file your financing statement. And that's how a PMSI is going to work. Then you also have associated collateral. That's another automatic perfection. This is going to be described in UCC Article 9, Section 9308D. And what associated collateral is, it's collateral that is so closely related to the original collateral that this new collateral is automatically going to perfect when it is obtained. The reasoning for this is that the new collateral's relationship with the original collateral, it provides sufficient notice for potential creditors that they should be aware of this associated collateral. A good example of associated collateral are when accounts, what I mean by accounts, I mean accounts receivable. A lot of these times, these accounts have what are called supporting obligations. And that is an example of associated collateral. Now, there are other perfection types that automatically perfect. These are going to be outlined in sections 9 through 10b2, 9 through 9.2 through 14, and 9, 3, 12, E through G. I won't focus on those here, and in fact, I'll end up wrapping up this episode now. But just to summarize the things that we talked about today, we just focused on other perfection methods, which includes other filing systems, the three things that aren't going to be covered underneath Article 9 of the UCC. These are going to be federal laws, these are going to be certificate of title statutes, and these are going to be if the state adopts a different practice for the type of collateral. And then we also talked about what automatically attaches. Possession for tangible, control for intangible, and then you have automatic attachment through purchase money security interest, also known as PMSs. From now on, I'm just going to say PMSs because that's going to be straightforward. In future episodes, I may just give another clarification just so that people know. But for automatic attachment to have, it needs to be in a consumer good. If it's not in a consumer good, well, then it's automatically perfected for 20 days. And after that, it is going to have to be perfected through another method. Primarily, it's going to be through a financing statement. I guess you could have perfection or control of those two. But the primary method, again, is going to be through a financing statement. And then we finished up with associated collateral, which is collateral that is so closely related to the original collateral that the potential creditors have sufficient notice of that collateral. Well, that's everything for this episode. Hope you enjoy, and looking forward to talking to you next time. Have a good one. Bye. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Law Schoolers Podcast. If you enjoyed the show or the material shared on the Law Schoolers website, you can support Law Schoolers by becoming a patron at patreon.com/lawschoolers. I also wanted to provide a quick disclaimer. Nearly all Law Schoolers material is unedited due to the sake of time and a desire to keep the content as raw as possible. Additionally, the material is only provided for educational purposes and is not to be used as legal advice. If the material is used as legal advice, Law Schoolers is not liable for any legal outcomes. Thank you again for enjoying the show.